we have people who call themselves progressives, and they seem to have this extraordinary self-delusion that that progressive mentality has something to do with being liberal, when it's not. It's the opposite of liberal. They are the ones that claim to be wanting people to be inclusive and to have diversity.
Well, maybe on their turn.
When they're destroying diversity, and they have become the new tyranny. They have become the new Nazi.
Yes, sir.
Do not
Yes, sir.
move the
Yes, sir.
on my property.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You put that right back here,
Yes, sir.
and you go to
It may sound like the stuff out of movies, but an asteroid hurtling towards the Earth is something real-life scientists are preparing for at NASA. They're refining the plan because in a few short years, a space rock could come quite close.
Well, astronomers may be witnessing something never seen before by humans, a supermassive black hole roaring back to life. In 2019, astronomers noticed a sudden spike in brightness in a galaxy 300 million light years away. They discovered the galaxy has been emitting more visible and infrared light in recent years and even started emitting X-rays in February. Researchers think they may be witnessing a supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy awakening.
Well, if the solar eclipse and the northern lights weren't enough for you, a once-in-a-lifetime explosive event in space is expected soon, and it could light up our sky over Michigan.
NASA predicting a once-in-a-lifetime event sometime this month.
I get a
Clock's
date?
ticking.
Oh. Be on the lookout for what looks like a new star in the night sky between now and September. The rare brightening event is known as a nova.
NASA reports that a star system 3,000 light years away, known as T Coronae Borealis, is about to erupt in a rare nova explosion. This event will create a new star visible from Earth, possibly as bright as the North Star. The last time this happened was back in 1946. Scientists predict the explosion could occur by September, but the exact timing remains uncertain.
In about 5.5 years, a massive asteroid named Apophis, after the Egyptian god of chaos, will pass so close to the Earth, we'll be able to see it in the sky. And that has NASA scientists on high alert.
We want to be able to get a spacecraft out there weeks to months to get a look at Apophis before that close encounter with the Earth.
Scientists working with global partners carried out asteroid threat exercises back in April to figure out if a potential planet killer is headed our way and how the world would cooperate to safeguard Earth.
A group of researchers say they've identified at least 7 stars that might be surrounded by super advanced alien megastructures known as Dyson spheres. Yes, I said alien structures, and I know what you're thinking, but just stay with me here, because the basic idea was this: superior intelligent life might build big structures around their home stars or planets as a way to harness or reuse that energy. A 1960s physicist who came up with this idea, Freeman Dyson, argued that if these structures existed, there'd be so much energy that human scientists on Earth could probably spot it because it would emit a lot of infrared radiation. So in this new study, researchers say they found 7 sources glowing in the infrared, those are their words, but couldn't find an obvious explanation for why these sources are glowing so much, which could mean they're Dyson spheres or something else entirely. And what I'm saying is, what? Space is so crazy. Do you think there is a scenario where a Dyson sphere might actually exist, or do you think this is really just the stuff of sci-fi fandom?
In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
course, the footage that emerged early on from the event, including the bizarre spectacle of the U.S. president wandering off after a skydiving display and having to be wrangled back into line by his counterparts, other world leaders, was bizarre enough. And this led to amazed commentary from around the world, as well as this fantastic New York Post front page, meander in chief. That's him, folks. And then there was this uncomfortable moment when the president went in for an intimate forehead-to-forehead moment with the Holy Father, Pope Francis.
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. Los Angeles and what am I doing here? From
And the leader of the free world was in sterling form last night after a big Democrat fundraiser in LA with many A-listers there, the usual suspects, George Clooney, Julia Roberts, Barbara Streisand. Watch here as Barack Obama grabs Biden's arm and helps direct the confused POTUS off stage. I think we found out who the puppet master is. No wonder many savvy pundits consider this Obama's third term, and it's been his most disastrous yet.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J.
Joe Biden also had another bizarre encounter with the press this week when he seemed to shout at them in gibberish. Latest polls reveal American voters are realizing their president is a walking disaster, with many who supported him in 2020 now turning their backs on him in 2024.
I can understand people who have not had access to any of this information, why they just believe whatever they're told by the BBC or CNN or the government or whatever. I can understand it. But those people who've seen some of this information, enough to say it's disinformation, and they can see where the world's going, or I mean, if they've got a brain cell on active duty, they will now, and yet that's their only contribution.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Grow up! Wake up! What is freedom of speech? It's the freedom to speak, saying, I agree with freedom of speech, but there are limits. Well, there's no freedom of speech then. Freedom of speech is the freedom to speak. If anyone's not allowed to speak, then it's not freedom of speech, it's freedom to conform to certain parameters of what are acceptable. And then what that's doing is giving power to some authority to decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And as we see, and we're seeing it massively now, once you give that power to an authority, it then starts interpreting what can and cannot be said in a way that squeezes and squeezes and squeezes more and more of what cannot be said. This is what political correctness is about. What is political correctness? It's simply manipulating the target population to silence itself, so those in authority don't have to. It's ridiculous. What I'm saying is, once you start censoring freedom of speech at the point of delivery, or even more sinister, before the point of delivery, by banning people from the right to have access to the communication networks or speak in public, that is what the fascists do. What did fascists do in Nazi Germany? What does any tyranny do? It wants to silence those that are exposing the tyranny and have a different version of events to the tyranny.
It wants to silence those that are exposing the tyranny want to have a different version of events to the tyranny.
So what did the Nazis do? They burnt the books. They banned the meetings of people who were exposing the Nazis. And now in this inverted world, we have people who call themselves progressives, and they seem to have this extraordinary self-delusion that that progressive mentality has something to do with being liberal, when it's not. It's the opposite of liberal. They are the ones that claim to be wanting people to be inclusive and to have diversity.
Or maybe on their terms.
When they're destroying diversity, and they have become the new tyranny.
Vanessa, Dan, a heartbreaking development here. The Ocean County prosecutor announcing the mother of those two toddlers is now facing charges of murder and more this morning in their deaths. Let's take you now to the investigation here Tuesday night in Lakewood, New Jersey. Sources familiar telling Pix 11 the two little girls were found in a bathtub. Pix 11 learning close to 5 p.m. Tuesday that police got a call to a home on Shenandoah Drive of two children in cardiac arrest. Responding officers found Hadzola Medical Services on scene trying to render life-saving aid, but both children were pronounced dead here at the scene. An investigation later finding a 1-year-old had been stabbed and that both had been drowned. The other child, just 3 years old. Authorities say their probe also found their mother is responsible, identified as 27-year-old Naomi Elkins. Elkins also facing unlawful weapons possession charges in this case, and prosecutors say that she was taken from this home on Tuesday evening without incident. This morning, she is in jail now awaiting her first appearance before a judge. Again, Naomi Elkins, age 27, now facing murder charges in the deaths of her two daughters on Tuesday evening. More on this as it comes into us. We are live here.
Do you think there is a scenario where a Dyson sphere might actually exist, or do you think this is really just the stuff of sci-fi fantasy?
I think it's feasible, unlikely. If you look at where we are since the Industrial Revolution, it's only a couple hundred years. We're in a precarious position. We have climate change. We have struggles with nuclear power, nuclear weapons that are could be destructive. It's unclear that any species that makes it that advanced could survive far enough into their own future to be able to build a Dyson sphere. But there are optimists out there who say we'll find a way.
Yeah, right. The universe is a pretty big place, right? And it'd be a shame if it was just seems like a lot of waste of space. Right?
Since late 2019, astronomers have observed some peculiar activity at a galaxy in the Virgo constellation that's some 300 light years away from us. And being 300 light years away means one would have to travel 300 years at the speed of light to reach that destination. More than 4 years ago, this galaxy started shining brighter than ever before, and astronomers started observing this phenomenon very closely. They noted how dramatically this galaxy's brightness and emissions have been changing over the last 4 years. In fact, researchers in the domain arrived at a few interesting possibilities. That this could probably be the first ever real-time observation of a black hole being activated.
Now, as insane as it may sound, it looks like a Harvard paper by social science researchers raised some pretty far out there possibilities that could explain the whole UAP stuff that I have become very obsessed with. They're posing 4 possibilities, like maybe crypto-terrestrials or like this secret advanced civilization that's been hiding somewhere here on Earth, or even maybe the moon where we can't see them, or maybe humans from the future are visiting us, or maybe like magical beings like fairies or angels. Or
this is going to be a very difficult thing for them to overcome.
Sheriff Wells believes they could learn more information from a woman who was with Bryce, and deputies believe she was traveling with him at the time of all the shootings, and detectives are now interviewing her.
The ex-girlfriend and said, "I have to kill you." Somehow the sister was able to talk him down and talk him out of him shooting this ex-girlfriend. She later told investigators that he was acting very strange, not really sure what was going on with him. At 9:17 p.m. that we know that he traveled to the Motel 6 in East Bradenton. Inside one of those rooms was his mother, his mother's boyfriend, and 2 young juvenile He walked into that hotel room, looked at the mother and said, "I'm sorry." She asked, "What did you do?" And he shoots her 3 times in front of the boyfriend and these 2 innocent young juveniles. He then travels into Palmetto to the 900 block of 26th Street East. One of his cousins was at a cookout at this residence. She's starting to get into her vehicle to leave. He then shoots her at that location. She later dies about an hour after this shooting at a local hospital. We then have him traveling into the city of Bradenton over the Green Bridge. At roughly 10:04 p.m., he travels to a location in the city of Bradenton, the 4800 block of 51st Street East. This is a residence where another ex-girlfriend lives and her now new partner. He does not shoot or kill the girlfriend, but he shoots and kills the new partner. So at this point, we now have 3 homicide scenes and also an ag assault scene at Palmetto Trace. Investigators are constantly...
Tonight, federal court records are revealing how the FBI broke up a plot to stop a mass shooting. Back in October, the FBI says it began its investigation into Mark Prieto after a confidential informant who spoke with him more than a dozen times over 3 years at various gun shows said Prieto called for a mass shooting targeting blacks, Jews, and Muslims before the 2024 presidential election. During a January gun show in Phoenix, Prieto tried recruiting that informant and an undercover FBI agent. According to court records, Prieto wanted to carry the plan out in Georgia because, he says, when he was a kid, that was one of the most conservative states in the country. More specifically, Prieto wanted to carry out the attack at a rap concert because he said there would be, quote, a high concentration of African Americans. During a February meetup at a gun show, Prieto began offering details of the plan, including the number of guns to be used. During this meetup, Prieto sold that undercover agent a gun for $2,000 and said he would also like to use grenades during the attack because it can, quote, cause panic. At another gun show in March in Prescott Valley, Prieto provided more specific details. That attack would take place in Atlanta at State Farm Arena on May 14th or 15th. Performing that night was rapper Bad Bunny. During that gun show, Prieto sold an AR-15 rifle to that undercover agent for $1,000 and told them to, quote, bring as many magazines as the gun could carry. In the following weeks, agents continued to monitor Prieto's movements. During an April meetup, Prieto continued to fine-tune his plans, even discussing heading east to do reconnaissance, but emphasized the attack, quote, must happen prior to the election and as soon as possible. Authorities arrested Prieto back on May 14th as he crossed into New Mexico. Investigators say he had several guns in his truck, even more found at his home in Prescott while executing a search warrant.
What I'm saying here is if you look at what this progressive mentality is doing in silencing people and deciding in their arrogance what people can and cannot say and what opinion they can and cannot have, you look at what the Nazis did, you look at what the communist Soviet Union did in terms of freedom of speech, and you show me the difference between them. There is none. And it's this self-deluded arrogance which goes like this. I am right, therefore anyone who says something different must therefore be wrong, and by definition, because they are wrong and I am right, their freedom of speech to be wrong doesn't need to be taken into account. That's how the mentality goes. What I say is, I don't agree with them, I don't agree with them, I don't agree with them. I do agree with them. But I don't want to silence any of them. Because are we so immature that we can't hear different opinions? Even those we don't like, sits back in amazement, horrified, call the police. and make our own judgments on what's being said and the validity of it. Do we not have the maturity to put forward another counter-argument, which, if we are confident in what we're saying, will demolish that which we don't agree with? Anyone that wants to silence people rather than argue their case can't have much confidence in their own case, surely. And once you go down this road of giving authority the right to decide what can be said, what opinions can be had, you are in a tyranny, and that's where we're going now. But it's bigger than that, because it's not just political correctness. You can't say this, you can't say that, you must say that. It's also the fact that humanity has been hoaxed on a monumental scale in relation to freedom of expression and freedom of information. And it's been done out of an area that I call the devil's playground. It's better known as Silicon Valley. What's happened is, when you do the research, intelligence organizations like the CIA in the United States, the National Security Agency, and the Pentagon, through an organization called DARPA, the Technological Development Arm of the Pentagon, they began seed funding technology and companies to develop what has become now known as the Internet, and an outgrowth of that, what became known as social media, and the search engine technology, which eventually became known as Google. All those were seed funded by this military intelligence network. And when they were selling it, because you can't show something's real face at the start, otherwise people will reject it and it won't get anywhere. You have to put another face to the world. So it was Google. Oh yeah, Google, yeah, and we just got a search engine, we can find what we like, that's great. Hey. And social media, oh, you post to your friends, you can say what you like, there's no censorship, isn't it great? And then it builds, and then it builds, and then it builds, and now you've reached a point now with Facebook where it claims 2.2 billion active users in a global population of 7.5 billion. You have this 90% monopoly on search engines, searches of Google. You have YouTube, which has got basically a monopoly on the posting of internet videos, which is owned by Google.
The breaking news updates with those multiple murders in North Las Vegas. 5 people shot to death, 1 teenager wounded.
Yeah, police say the manhunt for that suspect ended earlier today after he killed himself. And we have live team coverage tonight on this story. News 3's Kalia Patterson standing by with what we know about the suspect.
We'll start with Ambar Rodriguez with more on the tragic deaths and how the story unfolded. Ambar.
That's right, Jim and LaToya, and North Las Vegas detectives actually just cleared this scene over here at Craig Ranch Villas, where officers found 5 people dead in 2 separate units. Now, they say that call came in around 10 p.m. last night, and when they arrived, officers found 2 women in a unit who were shot. Both women, one in their early 40s and the other in her late 50s, were pronounced dead. In that same unit, police found a 13-year-old girl who was also shot. She was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Now, during their investigation, police found 3 other people shot in a separate apartment unit. 2 women, both in their mid-20s, and a man in his early 20s. All 3 were pronounced dead. I spoke with a few neighbors who were shocked to hear about the devastating news.
I heard that 5 or 6 people gotten shot, and that's very shocking to me.
Those are people's sisters and brothers and sons and things like that, and they are grieving now. They have to go through a process of grieving because they've lost their loved ones.
Now, police tell me that the 13-year-old girl who was shot is in critical condition at UMC Trauma Center. So our thoughts are with her this evening. But for now, reporting live from North Las Vegas. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, such an unbelievable story playing out before all of our eyes. Thank you so much. And we're also learning more about the man who police say killed those 5 people in North Las Vegas.
With more on that angle, his criminal history, let's get out to Kalia Patterson. She's live on in a neighborhood across street named Duane Stedman Avenue. That's where they found the suspect, Kalia.
Jim Latoya, North Las Vegas police say that Eric Adams killed himself right behind this wall here in someone's backyard, and they say this happened just after he opened fire on 5 people in a nearby apartment complex. Although the shooting happened last night, police found Adams this morning. Detectives say he was at a business on East Lake Mead Boulevard. When officers responded to that location, Adams fled to a home on Duane Stedman Avenue. They say Adams had a gun in his hand, and they ordered him to drop the weapon. After the standoff, Adams died by suicide. This is not Adams' first run-in with police. Adams had a criminal history in Las Vegas dating back to 1999, a lot of them involving a firearm. Some of his previous charges include burglary with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm, trafficking cocaine, battery of a prisoner, and battery of a police officer. His latest charge was this February for domestic battery by strangulation. This is still an ongoing investigation, and as we get more details, we'll be able to relay that to you as they become readily available.
Welcome to Cognify, a facility designed to treat criminals like patients. Instead of spending years in an actual prison cell, prisoners could finish their sentence here in just a few minutes. Cognify could someday create and implant artificial memories directly into the prisoner's brain. These complex, vivid, and lifelike memories are created in real time using AI-generated content. Depending on the seriousness of the subject's crime and their sentence, the memories could be tailored to the rehabilitation needs of each subject. The artificial memories implanted by Cognify would be seamlessly incorporated into the existing neural networks of the brain, preventing cognitive dissonance and ensuring the subject experiences the memories as if they were real. The Cognify concept offers a new approach to criminal rehabilitation, transforming how society deals with offenders by focusing on rehabilitation rather than punishment. First, the prisoner is given a choice, either spending tens of years in a prison cell or seeking fast-track rehabilitation through artificial memory implantation. If the prisoner chooses to undergo fast-track rehabilitation, the Cognify device is used. Next, the prisoner undergoes high-resolution brain scanning to create a detailed map of their neural pathways. This brain map helps guide the Cognify device to target specific brain regions responsible for memory, reasoning, and logical thinking, such as the hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, amygdala, parietal lobe, and anterior cingulate cortex. Once the target brain regions are identified, Cognify is then placed around the head of the prisoner. The intensity and the type of artificial memories is then adjusted depending on the crime. Inside the criminal's mind, time would pass differently, slower than in real life, making them experience years' worth of artificial memories in just a few minutes. Synthetic memories are customized depending on the crime committed and the unique brain structure and psychological profile of the individual. Violent offenders could experience memories that are designed to trigger empathy and remorse, seeing their crime from the perspective of their victim, feeling their pain and suffering firsthand. Some memories are designed to trigger consequences and trauma. Such memories could simulate the long-term consequences of violent actions, such as the grief of the victim's family or the physical and emotional trauma endured by the victim. Artificial memories could cover a wide range of crimes, including domestic violence, hate crimes and discrimination, embezzlement, insider trading, theft and fraud. Cognify emotion regulation system could modulate neurotransmitters and hormones to induce specific emotional states, such as remorse or regret, which is crucial for rehabilitation. Real-time monitoring and feedback mechanisms could track the prisoner's neural responses throughout the process, allowing the system to adapt and optimize the rehabilitation in real time with new visuals, sensation, and realistic AI-generated content. To ensure the long-term effect of the therapy session, the memories could become permanent, fully integrated into the subject's mind, as if they were part of their own personal experiences. While subjects are undergoing therapy session, valuable data are collected from all the prisoners into a central computer for scientific research, which will help understand the criminal mind and determine the best approach to tackle crimes in society. AI-driven analytics could enhance the device's functionality, optimizing future procedures based on gathered data and insights. Cognify could feature encrypted storage for sensitive prisoner information and rehabilitation data. A compact and portable design would allow Cognify to be used anywhere in the world. It would be constructed with durable materials to withstand frequent use. Its energy-efficient design would ensure long operational life, reducing the need for frequent recharges. It would have the ability to integrate seamlessly with other prison systems, like security cameras and biometric identification. Once the therapy session is concluded, family members of the subject could be provided with a comprehensive report on the new artificial memories that have been implanted, offering them a chance to adjust to the subject's new, positive personality traits. The subject is then released back into society to start a new life away from crimes. The Cognify concept could revolutionize the criminal justice system by significantly reducing the need for long-term incarceration and its associated costs. Traditional prisons require substantial budgets for construction, maintenance, staffing, and prisoner care, including food, healthcare, and rehabilitation programs. By replacing extended prison sentences with brief, intensive rehabilitation through artificial memory implantation, the costs of maintaining prison facilities and supporting inmates could be drastically lowered. The funds saved from reduced incarceration and recidivism rates could be reallocated to other critical areas. These might include education, healthcare, infrastructure development, social welfare programs, or research and development initiatives that benefit society as a whole. By rehabilitating offenders more quickly, Cognify could enable them to reintegrate into society sooner and contribute to the workforce. This increased productivity could boost the economy and generate tax revenue, further offsetting the initial investment in such technology. Successful rehabilitation through Cognify could lead to safer communities, reduced crime rates, and improved social well-being. This could have far-reaching positive impacts on individuals, families, and society as a whole, contributing to a more stable and prosperous future. Apart from treating criminals, Cognify could also be used to treat severe memory loss by helping patients recall their past memories. It could also treat patients with PTSD by implanting positive memories that replace the negative ones.
That 1,000 miles from the Russian capital, the trial of Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich has begun in Yekaterinburg. It is in the city where he was arrested on espionage charges while on a reporting trip for the Wall Street Journal. For nearly 15 months, Mr. Gershkovich has been locked away in a Moscow jail. Prosecutors claim that the American journalist had been collecting classified information about a Russian tank manufacturer near Yekaterinburg on behalf of America's Central Intelligence Agency. Mr. Gershkovich, his employer, and the U.S. government vehemently rejects the charge. If convicted, the maximum possible sentence is 20 years in prison. Still on judicial matters, in Japan, a U.S. soldier has been charged with the kidnapping and rape of a teenage girl in Okinawa, a Japanese island where the region's largest chain of American military bases are located. The case is likely to bring more attention to the long-standing local opposition to U.S. military presence. The islands are home to more than half of the 54,000 U.S. soldiers serving in Japan. The anger has also been fueled by sexual assault cases. One of the most high-profile was in 1995, when a 12-year-old girl was raped by 3 U.S. service personnel, sparking months-long protests. The latest allegation also involves a minor who is younger than 16, the age of consent in Japan.
Police say the man accused of murdering 2 convenience store clerks admitted to the murders and confessed he didn't give them time to even comply with his demands. Devonta Mathis is charged with murder for killing 60-year-old Mohammed Hussein in Mesquite, and then just a little more than a day later, 32-year-old Jopi Dasari in Dallas. Investigators say he admitted he used a stolen truck and a gun bought illegally to commit the crimes, and police say he did it for lottery tickets. Fox 4's David Centenary is at the Dallas County Jail with new details on the investigation. David.
Yeah, according to an arrest warrant affidavit, Devonta Mathis showed no remorse while talking with police about those two murders. In fact, he said he wanted to take his own life when he was being chased by police, but he could not find his own gun. What was the motive behind these shootings?
It appears just to be straight robbery.
According to an arrest affidavit obtained by Fox 4, Devonta Mathis admitted to shooting a clerk in the chest last Thursday at a convenience store off West Bruton Road in Mesquite before stealing lottery tickets. Then, days later, shooting and killing another clerk while on the run.
I will say this, it was pretty heinous in the sense of neither clerk appears to have been even given the opportunity to comply.
Mathis told police he shot the clerk, identified as Mohammed Hussein, because of the way he looked, referring to skin color, and stated he did not think the clerk would have been cooperative. Mathis allegedly told detectives he never told the clerk anything, but when he walked in, the clerk looked at him, so he shot him because he did not want him to run out and call the police.
Again, I can't speak to what somebody would or wouldn't have done, but I would assume he would have probably just complied and given the man whatever he wanted.
Police say Mathis got away with stolen lottery tickets, and he was seen on surveillance cashing them out in Hillsboro, just north of Waco, where he's from.
It's very hard to get into someone else's head. We can't really do that and know what they're thinking or why they're doing what they're doing, but certainly the behavior speaks for itself.
Mesquite PD says Mathis also admitted to shooting 32-year-old Gopi Krishna Dasari, a clerk at a Fox Fuel in the Pleasant Grove neighborhood of Dallas, on Saturday. Dasari died. Less than an hour later, Mathis was arrested after an attempted traffic stop and pursuit in Mesquite. How rare is this type of situation?
I would say it's very rare, and all the more importance that we get this person off the street.
Police say Mathis told detectives he bought the pistol he allegedly used from a man off the streets for $400. He was hoping that the lottery ticket winnings would give him enough money to get an apartment.
To me, what that would say is that this is someone who is just truly violent and doesn't have a lot of remorse for what they're doing, or really any for that matter.
Mathis is charged with 2 counts of capital murder as well as a couple other charges. Bond set at $7.5 million right now as he sits in the Dallas County Jail.
New details coming in tonight about the deadly mass shooting at an Arkansas grocery store near Little Rock. The death toll has now climbed to 4, and moments ago, authorities said it appears to be a random act of violence. What we're learning tonight about the victims, including a nurse and the baby she left behind. Here's ABC's Jacqueline Lee.
Tonight, as the death toll rises to 4, police in Arkansas say that grocery store mass shooting appears to be a random act of violence.
We believe he immediately began engaging victims in the parking lot after exiting his truck and then proceeded into the store. Once inside, he was firing indiscriminately at both customers and employees.
Arkansas State Police revealing new details about the shooting on Friday in Fordyce, about an hour south of Little Rock.
And there is a shooting going on.
The suspect was armed with a 12-gauge shotgun, a pistol, and a bandolier with dozens of extra shotgun rounds, authorities say. And for the first time tonight, authorities identifying the fatalities. 81-year-old Ellen Schrum, 62-year-old Shirley Taylor, 50-year-old Roy Sturgis, and 23-year-old Callie Weems.
Instead of fleeing from the obvious danger, Callie Weems began using her training as a nurse to render aid to a gunshot victim, and unfortunately became a victim herself as a result of her selfless actions.
Weems' mother, Helen, says her daughter died a hero and is survived by her child, Ivy Mae, just 10 months old.
She loved God, she loved her daughter, she loved her family, and she loved people.
Police say the 44-year-old suspect, who is facing 4 counts of capital murder, shot 11 others, including 2 police officers.
These officers literally and intentionally put themselves between the suspects and defenseless citizens. Their actions were nothing short of heroic.
Lindsay, police say 4 people are in the hospital. A woman is still in critical condition. Arkansas State Police are investigating the motive of the shooter. Lindsay, thinking of baby.
Also following breaking news out of southern Arkansas after multiple people were shot. Let's take you down to Fordyce with a news conference involving state police.
Law enforcement responded immediately and exchanged gunfire with a lone suspect. Unfortunately, we can confirm that 11 innocent civilians were shot and 3 of those are deceased. 2 law enforcement officers were injured in the exchange of gunfire. The suspect was also shot and taken into custody. The injuries to the officers and the suspect are not considered life-threatening. The remaining civilian injuries range from non-life-threatening to extremely critical. The investigation is in its early stages, and we have no information or no more information that we can release at this time. The Arkansas State Police will be the lead investigative agency, and all media inquiries should be routed through our communications department. We do anticipate a further news release later in the evening. I've been in constant contact with Governor Sanders. She's committed any resources needed to aid in this investigation or any support needed for the community of Fordyce and Dallas County. To reiterate the total numbers, we had 11 civilians shot. 3 of those are deceased, and we do have some that are critical. We have 2 law enforcement officers that were shot. Neither of their injuries are considered to be life-threatening, and we had 1 suspect that was shot, is in custody. His injuries are also not life-threatening. Just on behalf of the state police, the law enforcement community, all public and first responders, it's tragic. Our hearts are broken. Our prayers, along with Governor Sanders, the entire state of Arkansas will be with this community and with those affected victims. Thank you.
All right, we're listening to a news conference out of Fordyce, Arkansas. By the way, thanks for joining us for your 5 News First at 4. I'm Darren Bobb. Alexandra has the evening off tonight. As you just heard, 11 people were shot at a grocery store in Fordyce. It happened at the Matt Butcher grocery store just before noon today. 11 people were shot. 3 are dead in that shooting. The shooter himself was also shot, taken into custody, and a few police officers were also shot there. Here's what we know. State police say 11 people were shot. 3 have died. They also tell us that 2 officers suffered 9 non-life-threatening injuries as well. We're also learning the shooter was injured after being shot by officers. His injuries non-life-threatening as well. He is in custody. They now have been taken to. The governor has also been posting on X this afternoon saying that she has been briefed on the shooting and is in constant contact with state police. Governor also added that her prayers are with the victims and all those impacted by the shooting. Once we get new information, as you heard him say, there will.
And once this monopolistic situation was reached, then they started saying, okay, now we've got this much control. We are going to start deciding what you see and what you don't see. It's fishing line out. Oh, it ain't great. Yeah, right. Say what you like. No censorship. Ooh, gotcha. And so we now have Facebook that is systematically censoring information outside of the official narrative. We have this situation with Facebook and Twitter now, which is known as ghost banning, which they do to me, which is you post it, but all the people that would like to see it and have liked or followed would like to see it, they don't see it. Only a few of them see it. The vast majority don't see it because of ghost banning. They just don't circulate it. And you now have, as blatant as can be, YouTube is just deleting large and greater all the time numbers of channels that are presenting a different narrative to the official one across the swathe of subjects that are just being deleted. They're just being deleted without any explanation. just that you've broken our guidelines. What guidelines? Well, what he's doing something different, something the same rather, and he's not breaking the guidelines. But hold on a minute, he's saying the official narrative is true, and you were going to ask, why is it happening? Well, it's happening because I've been talking for 30 years and writing for 30 years. There are very few people control the world. Very few people. People would be staggered how few.
How many?
Well, I'm going to come to that in terms of it's fewer now than ever before, and why. But a lot of people have said in response to that, a few people can't control the world. There's too many people. It's not possible. Well, now we have a handful of people, which you could probably get on 10 fingers, or 2 hands, that control Google, control YouTube, owned by Google, control Facebook, that absolutely dominate the information that most people see or don't see. We have a concentration of power in Silicon Valley, a very small area of the world, that is the greatest concentration of surveillance and censorship power the world has ever seen.
That is the greatest concentration of surveillance and censorship power the world has ever seen.